Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Packers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We got Tim in Green Bay here to talk Packers on this glorious March the 8th. Boys, we're in the 50s all week. We're in the 70s next week. Spring's here. We're ready to roll. I don't know how y'all are feeling about it. Tim, is it still a blizzard up there? Or you guys cleared up now?
No, it's cleared up. I don't know if it's 100% spring yet in Wisconsin, but we're getting close. The snow's melting, and you can actually see the ground again. So we're getting there.
Not until you get to May in Green Bay do you go, okay, we're out of the woods, right? That's the way that works.
Even then, you got to kind of wonder sometimes.
Jacob, it stays probably colder up there where you're at, right? Closer to Minneapolis, I imagine.
Yeah, kind of. But I mean, like you just said, I mean, today we got 47 and then it's 51 tomorrow, Monday, 57. I even see a 65 next Friday. So, that is.
Oh, man.
65%.
65%. That's what
I didn't even try to do that. Why?
Tim's on his game, boy. I'm just telling you right now. All right, let's jump. Yeah, Ben Holden in the chat. 23 degrees in Wisconsin Dells. Good love. Whew.
Have you ever been to Wisconsin Dells, Clay?
No, I never have. Where's it at, man?
It's in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It is. I used to go there all the time when I was a kid. It's one of the most kitschy places you've ever been in your life, but it used to be really great, and now it's kind of just a lot of rundown water parks and cool old buildings and restaurants. But dude, if you were a kid and you went there in the 90s, that place was bussing, as they say.
It was like Vegas for kids.
It was. And the parents would just get schmammered everywhere. It was like,
it's the good old days, man. You kidding me? Like, God, we ain't got time to get into it. I'm just telling you, growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, different era. Yep, and it was just awesome. It was absolutely awesome, man. Nowadays, your kids not allowed to ride in the back of the pickup. I remember when we went our Little League game, they'd throw us all in the back of the pickup and take us on about a 10-mile ride. And we're all chanting, we're number one. We'd be talking that ish, if you know what I mean.
I remember Mom and Dad throwing me in the trunk of the car to sneak me into the drive-in movie for free.
I've done that
never have to do that, ride in the trunk, so Mom could save $8.
All the hacks, man. Mom had the cute. It looked like a little tackle box full of coupons, but we were balling.
Yep.
Let me tell you, we were balling. And I remember the paper food stamps. Whoo, she break out the pink. I go, oh, it's the pink one. We're getting something good today. Look at this. Oh, it's the good old days, man. First date me and Mandy ever went on. We went to the movies in Harlan, Kentucky, right, just down the road from where we grew up. And I'm heading to the movie. She said, swing into McDonald's real quick. I'm like, we'll get something in the theater. She was like, I ain't paying those prices. So she goes through. Hits the dollar menu, stuffs her purse full. I went, oh, this girl's a keeper.
Clayton bought a ring that night.
Oh, yeah.
It was an onion ring, but still.
I went home, said, Mama, I found her. So, anyway, let's get to the Patreon group here. Questions for the show. Greg S. says, since this is a deep defensive line draft class, which of these options do you feel is more likely? Okay, so he's not asking what would you do. He's saying which one's more likely. One, team focus on defensive line early, causing other top prospects to fall to 23. Two, knowing there will be defensive line talent available in the second round, they focus on other positions early, causing a top defensive lineman to fall to 23. Or three, the boring scenario, teams follow the board and pick the top 20 prospects regardless of position, having no one fall to 23. I think GMs approach it differently for different organizations. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I think there's some GMs that are looking ahead, like, okay, we've got a cluster of players at this position coming up. We got a better chance of landing one of them. Maybe we pick from the thinner group right now, and then hope that there's at least one or two of our top prospects on the board at the time of that position. And I think there are some GMs that just strictly stick to the board. I think there's GMs like Goody, and I'm completely guessing here. I don't have any factual evidence other than other than just historically speaking, that Goody Goody tends to use that first round on athletic freaks. He goes after those dudes that are they got extremely high upside. And I've been pretty vocal. I'm kind of anti that. I'm like, man, let's just take the best player available and let the chips fall where they may, But I don't know if I had to pick one of those scenarios that's most likely going to happen. I could see teams saying, hey, man, defensive line is deep. We don't necessarily have to take one right now, and that could cause a few to fall. What we've talked about with corner, makes me wonder if the corners will go fairly quick because it thins out there in the second and third round. And then, of course, on the backside of the draft, there's all kinds of our favorites in there. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I'll start with you, Tim, since I think Jacob's busy for a second.
I'm going to go with number 2. I think number 2 on the list is probably most likely to happen, right? Knowing that there will be D-line talent available in the second round, teams will possibly focus on other positions early. Causing top D linemen to fall to 23. See, that part, I don't know. Hopefully, that would be nice. Give us an opportunity to maybe get a top tier guy on the D line, like we talked about, our dream 3-tech kind of scenario. So I think 2. I'm going with number 2 on this list.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd definitely go number 2. I think, like Clayton mentioned, there is such a deep D line group in this league, and there's such a scarcity at certain positions like cornerback. You could even argue quarterback and certain offensive linemen as well. So those tier 1 type of people, depending, like you said, depending on the GM, depending on the team, depending on the need. But I could definitely see a scenario where a couple of those, what do you think? There's maybe 5 in the top 20 D linemen. Is that fair?
Let's look here. Let's look on the board real quick, and I won't put it on the screen. But when you're talking interior D-line, or are you just talking edge in general too? He said D-line.
Yeah, D-line. Even interior guys, like with Walter Nolan.
So we got you. What'd you ask in the top 10? Is that right?
In the top 20.
Top 20. Okay, so we got Abdul Carter at number 2. We've got Mason Graham at number 4. We have James Pierce Jr. at number 10. We've got Shamar Stewart at number 13, Kenneth Grant at number 16. All right. And we got Mike Green at 18, Mikael Williams at 19. So we've got 7 defensive linemen. That includes defensive tackles, 3 to 1 tech, plus the edges, 7 in the top 20. So they're valuable, man. We talked about it. I think it's one of the things that's held us back a little bit in the past is kind of not having that truly dominant 3-tech, which, I don't want to misspeak here or be that bad at communication that people think, oh, just go get a 3-tech. It's that easy. They're not growing on trees, man. Those dudes, the ones that are truly dominant, everybody's looking for one. So it's really not that easy. But yeah, that answer your question though, Jacob, about the top 20 there?
Yeah. I'd say in the first round, there's probably closer to 10 to 12 guys that could be there. The cornerback room is
Graham's on the board. We're taking them, right?
I would hope so. Yeah.
These are at 23, right?
Yeah. And then, like I said, with the cornerbacks, what do you got? Siobhan, but he's coming off that injury. You got Will, the guy from Michigan. I don't know, man. And then you throw in the weirdness of how there's a few tight ends that could possibly sneak into that first round. And it's a very interesting draft because I think that in most drafts, recent drafts, it feels like you could kind of tell where the first 5 picks were going. You know what I mean? At least the first 3, that kind of stuff. I have no idea in this draft how it's going to actually fall. And I think people that say they do are kind of lying to you.
Oh, absolutely. And it is amazing how people on Twitter, you'll put a tweet out about a certain prospect. He'll be gone. Oh, damn, you figured this thing out, huh?
Yeah. Can I borrow that crystal ball you have there?
GMs haven't figured out. Boy, you got this thing on lock, let me tell you. So the big thing I think that's going to kind of steer this draft too is Shedeur Sanders. We got him in the 14 spot. Where does he go? Does he go top 5? Does he drop to the lower end of the first round? I hope that we see at least a minimum of 3 quarterbacks taken before we pick. That would be lovely. If somehow, some way, Jackson Dart has been taken along with Shedeur Sanders and, of course, Cam Ward, who's our top quarterback on our board right here in the number 8 spot. And again, when you hear number 8, that doesn't mean he's going number 8. That means that's what his grade has him out on our board. And honestly, that would probably pop him into tier 1. We treat quarterbacks as if they're one tier higher than they actually are. That's just how the league operates. So
do you have the draft position just where teams are picking, and then we could kind of look, because with the recent free agency moves and with so many free agent quarterbacks in the league right now, I mean, you're talking about guys like even Danny Dimes is being talked about, and Sam Darnold. Who? Depending on where certain free agents go. I mean, they're talking about Fields is going to Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like, so if certain teams, I feel like they were quarterback hungry or now. So yeah, let's take a look right here. I still have it. I find
this
it hard to believe.
This is Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0. Just so you know, Jake. Go ahead.
Gotcha. I find it hard to believe that the Titans are happy with their quarterback position there. That to me screams something may happen, but like the Raiders, that's not happening no more, right? I mean,
well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. You know what I mean? Because you're hearing the same stuff I'm hearing, right? Across Twitter, it seems like, oh man, the Raiders aren't going to take Shedeur now, right? It's weird.
Well, I just player profile wise, I don't see Shedeur instilling a lot of confidence in any front office being like, yeah, you can take Shedeur and make him sit for a while. He'll be fine with that. You know,
right.
Like,
that'll go over well.
To me, that's not that profile for that player. And I don't know about you, but I've even heard Daniel Jeremiah and a few others that we respect. They were talking about how Gray Zabel is a plug and play center and how he's going to be drafted more like a center and not like a tackle, which I don't know. I know Tim's rolling his eyes right now, but I honestly still love that pick no matter where he plays. If he can plug and play center, plug and play guard, plug and play tackle, I don't care. I would still really like that pick at 23 if he happens to fall.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, is this DJ's most recent?
This was 2.0. It's the last one I've seen. I haven't checked in a while though. I can go. Let me go look on Twitter real quick, Tim. Just tell me what you think about it or anything you want to add. I'll see if he's.
I'm not a fan of the Simmons pick. What do you think, Tim?
I don't hate it, but I'm not in love with it.
Yeah, same.
You know, going O-line is, you know, getting better in the trenches is never going to bother me, but I'd go 3-tech at 23, depending on who's on the board. But seeing Gray Zabel getting mocked to Seattle makes a lot of sense. But I'd be interested to see DJ do another one now that, you know, we see what they basically had a cleaning house sale in Seattle, and they currently do not have a quarterback. I'm wondering, is Seattle in the mix there to possibly trade up to try and get one of these top tier quarterbacks in the first round, thus allowing, you know, a guy like Gray Zabel to be on the board for, you know, other teams.
Yeah, that's what Prince is saying here.
Yeah, I'm only seeing 2.0, Jacob. Now, he did update his top 50 board, which you guys know we don't change it as we go. We take the first one and we roll with it. That way, you know, if anyone wants to see the latest information that each quote-unquote expert, you know, has, they've got the freedom to go do that. But our board will not be affected by it. We've got kind of the earliest information in, if that makes sense. Go ahead, though, man.
Do you guys, is there one player that's getting mocked quite high that you just don't understand? For instance, mine is Jalen Walker.
Yes.
I don't understand the allure to him being up so high in the top 10. I mean, I don't see it. Is there anybody else that you guys kind of are like scratching your head?
Yeah, for me, it's Jalen Walker. He just, you know, people were saying he might be the next Micah Parsons. I just don't. I remember the buzz around Micah Parsons. Dude was a stud. Like, he had so much production. And with Jalen Walker, it's just like, if I remember correctly, he played stack backer the majority of the time. And he didn't grade out well. It's all projection, you know. But when you go through and look at these players and say, okay, who do we see here that, at least in Daniel Jeremiah's 2.0 mock draft here, who do we think might be a little bit overrated? I'm trying to think like Darius Alexander going 26. I know he's lower on our board. That's one that kind of sticks out. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. Don't take this the wrong way. But like if I were to search for him on our board here, let me see. Darius Alexander, we've got him in the 77 spot. And people go, oh, how the heck can that happen, Clayton? Here's how he got to that point for us. PFF, pretty good. He was 109th, jumped to 43rd, then jumped to 4th in terms of grades. Okay, that checks out. That's not bringing him down at all. But at the end of the football season, he was 175th on the PFF big board, and he was 193rd on the consensus big board. That's after the football season had wrapped up. So I'm sitting there going, okay, now the same people that were trying to tell us that he was the 193rd prospect, there's been no more football played other than the Senior Bowl in which he dominated. Don't get me wrong. Now all of a sudden they're trying to convince me he's a top 30 pick. I'm not saying he's not going to be a great player. I'm just saying if I'm picking between two different players, he being one and another one that everyone was high on the entire time and the PFF grades check out, I'm leaning toward the more consistent approach. So mine would probably be Darius Alexander here. Tim, what you got one here in the first round? This might be, you say, might be a little overrated.
Malachi Starks at the very end there, sneaking into the first round. That'd be as close as I could get. You guys took the other two already.
Right, the two obvious ones. Right?
The two obvious ones. I think Malachi Starks is one of those guys that, he could end up in the first round. He could also go early to mid-second, I think.
Yeah, and I think that comes kind of to how valuable people are seeing the safety position this year. You know what I mean? Like, do they see it as, hey, we can wait and get something of equal or like Nick Emenware, right? He dominated. He scored a 10 RAS, right? Well, he's sitting in the 33 spot on our board. Malachi Starks is in the 21 spot. So I could see some people going, you know what? Because of Emenware and the way he performed at the combine, he's kind of up there with Malachi Starks for us. Let's wait and see which one goes first. You know, right. I could see it that dropping. So I
was just gonna say, Drew D brought up Tyler Booker was another one I was gonna mention. Him at 13 just does not seem. Tyler Booker going in front of Armen Membu to me that's
crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't see Membu going past like pick 7 or 8. That guy's just too athletic, too big, too good.
And if we were to look at it here, Membu, we've got number 9 on our board, right? But Daniel Jeremiah had him 17th. Dane Brugler had him 8th. Okay. And then if we go down to, like you said, Tyler Booker on our board is in the 34 spot, right? But Daniel Jeremiah had him 14th. Dane Brugler had him 18th. Now, the reason that we're lower on him than others, his PFF grade in 2024, he was the 188th at his position. It's like, I don't know, if you're going to try to convince me to take him in the top 20, I got to see a little more dominance than that. You know what I mean? And again, it's not to say he won't be a great player and he's not a good pick at a certain spot. It's just you've got some other guys on the board that have shown they're the real freaking deal, you know? Yeah. Coach Lynn points this out, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry.
No, Coach Lynn is just saying 3 running backs in the first in my Ron Burgundy voice.
Be a crackhead. Got hold to the wrong stuff.
Here's the thing about that. I think personally, I remember when DJ tweeted this out. I think he did that on purpose to kind of spark conversation because he said something along the lines of, here's one with 3, just for fun. Here's one with 3 running backs in the first round. So again, at this point, this isn't the final mock. I don't think anybody's saying this is how it's going to fall into place. I think people are just looking at different avenues, different, you know what I mean, scenarios, if you will. I don't see 3 running backs going in the first round. That's me. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just telling you guys, it happens just about every year. I wouldn't be surprised if a 4th or 5th quarterback magically appears in the first round. Like last year, what was it, 6, 5 or 6? Last
6 in like the top 20, I thought.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I guess looking at this board, because this was the whole point when we started this, I think. So obviously the Browns are in need of a quarterback, or at least unless you're the biggest Deshaun Watson fan ever. So that means that in theory, the Raiders should probably be out on a quarterback. I'd say the Jets need a quarterback, right? Would you say that the Saints could possibly be in the mix if they were one of those?
They still got Derek Carr, right?
Yeah,
I think they still got Derek Carr. Now, obviously, they're not. He's not going to be their quarterback in 5 years, right? So they could potentially be looking for one. I could see that.
I don't think Dallas would. I don't think the Dolphins would. Colts wouldn't. You know, Atlanta shouldn't. Mention Atlanta drafts another quarterback. So basically, I mean, I'm just looking around, just trying to see. And then at 18, Seahawks. That's a glaring need right there. I mean, but there's not many others. You know what I mean?
So is that 3 that we're up to? Let's do it real quick again. Tennessee, I would say yes to Tennessee potentially. Yeah.
Cleveland,
I want to say yeah, but they've got themselves in such a mess with Deshaun Watson. They almost have to just, they have to go home to him every day. You know what I mean? But let's throw Cleveland up there just in case. The Giants, yes, right? Patriots are good. Jaguars are good. Raiders, yes. Jets, yes, right? Panthers are good. Let's say the Saints are good. Let's say the Bears are good. Niners are good. Arizona's good. Cincinnati's good. Seattle, yes, right? Tampa's good. Denver's good. Pittsburgh is a triple yes. They're still looking for a quarterback, right? Chargers are good. So that's 7 teams that could potentially take a quarterback before we pick.
Yeah.
That's
And I
exciting.
think LA could possibly be there as well. And then that's probably about it. So that is more than I thought. You know what I mean?
Right.
As far as, but you add in the free agency stuff and the quarterback carousel that's going around. And I read some news stuff that that people are waiting for Carson Wentz to be let go. I'm like, we're going back to Carson Wentz. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Prince in the chat said if Shador falls past San Francisco at 11, Seattle at 18, and Pittsburgh at 21, other possible spots, Dart may go second half round 1, 2. That's a great point. And again, when we say there's 7 potential teams looking to take a quarterback, we're not saying there's going to be 7 quarterbacks taken in the first round. We're simply saying there's 7 teams that will probably be willing to bot on a Jackson Dart or whoever, they have as their third best quarterback. It could potentially happen for sure. Dart's very interesting because he graded out well, according to PFF. I'm trying to remember where we had Dart on our board here because I think we had Jalen Milroe slightly ahead of him. We had Jalen Milroe in the 56 spot with a 54.4 and got Jackson Dart all the way down at 73. But again, DJ's got him in the 41 spot. That's 33 spots higher than where we got him. That's called arithmetic, ladies and gentlemen.
He was the best guy around.
Dane Brugler had him at 57. Now, DJ does not have Jalen Milroe in his top 50, but Dane Brugler has him at 61. So those are 2 quarterbacks. Like, if there's going to be another quarterback that tries to slip in the first round, it sounds silly even saying it, but the thought of someone like a Jalen Milroe or a Shu or one of those guys, Shao, however you say his name.
Is that Louisville guy?
Is it Tyler Schaub?
Tyler Schaub or Schaub? Yeah.
I don't want to.
How do we say his name?
Yeah.
I thought it was it's not
It's
the same.
Tyler from Louisville. We know how to say
There
it.
you go.
146 is where we got him. But again,
Shuck.
man, shuck, like he's shucking corn. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Thank you, Chris. Chris over there in the Midwest. Not really. I think he's in Texas. Drew D, what did Drew D say there? I missed it. My bad. It's all good. Let's move it along. This show sucks anyway, right? Yeah, shuck. Okay, everybody's just confirming. Fred McFarley, all of our ERFAs have been tendered. Yes, they have, sir. Yes, they have. Prince in the chat. Or Rogers, sounds like Atlanta will try to force someone to trade if they want Cousins, saying they want. See, that's the other thing we got to take into consideration. Free agency might remove one of those 7 teams, right, Tim? Like if someone signs a quarterback in free agency, but if Aaron goes to somewhere like the Giants, I think they're still looking for that quarterback in the future too.
I agree.
So
I feel the same way about, even like we said, the Raiders, right? They got Geno. That's cool. Is Geno going to be their quarterback in 5 years? Probably not. So I could still see them trying to get a quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Trying to think of other quarterbacks too, like Sam Darnold's. He's on the market right now, right? Mm-hmm. And Minnesota could go a number of different ways. They could just say, "Hey, JJ McCarthy's our guy. We're moving forward," or they could go after Sam Darnold, and then it remains at 7 teams if he doesn't sign somewhere else. That could happen. So let's see. You're too old for this. Someone please clip Clayton saying the Bears are good.
Don't put that name in my mouth right there.
I'm trying to get me canceled out here. Lord have mercy. Coach Lynn, Fast Riser is the freak safety from South Carolina is not listed in the first. Who are we talking about?
That's Nick. I thought Emanure or whatever his name is.
Okay. Yeah. He. Let me double check. That's where he's from. I think it is. I think you're right. Yeah, South Carolina. Yeah, he's in the 33 spot on our board, and again, he got the 5-point RAS bonus. But the reason he's outside of the top, the first round for us, according to our board, the main thing that brings him down is his PFF grade. He was 98th at his position this year, and the year before he was 254th. So PFF wasn't very kind to him, and I'm sure it wasn't like a horrible grade anytime you're in the top 100 of your position. But if I'm looking to take a first-round talent, man, it's hard for me to sell myself on the fact that someone, wasn't even in the top 50 at their position according to the grades, Now you get in the second, third round, you start seeing upside. That's where I differ with Goody. And again, I'm an idiot. He knows what the hell he's doing. But I kind of look at take the ball of Clay outside of the first round. How about we get the slam dunk? These dudes are good at the game of football in the first round as opposed to the latter. So Christopher Strike says, I know this might be crazy. Make a trade to Seattle with Malik Willis. Hey, Malik Willis is definitely trade bait, man. I was pretty vocal about this last year. I want to get your all's take, see if anything's changed. My point was the fact that we've got a backup quarterback that can legit come in and win football games for you is so valuable. I'm not taking less than a second round pick for him. Somebody comes with a second, I'll pull the trigger there. But if they come with a third or later, I'm sitting here going, man,
What if they come with a DK Metcalf?
See, that's the other thing. You could group those together, right? Like if you're saying the trade proposal is straight up Malik Willis for DK Metcalf, I would do that trade. Absolutely. The problem is I jumped on a live stream last night or a live chat last night with Seahawks fans. I just seen it went live on Twitter. Let me jump in there and see what's going on. They called on me and was like, Packer fan, what are you doing here or whatever? And I was like, hey, I got a proposal for you. All right. First of all, I said, what the hell's going on out there in Seattle? They went, man, it's bad times, man. I said, I got a trade proposal for you. I said, a 7th round pick for DK. Everybody just blew up. So, and then I mentioned Malik Willis and they changed the subject. So I don't think they're interested in Malik Willis. But it's just like Jacob on Facebook Marketplace. I know what I got. No best offers here. I know what I got. So, no, I think that's legit. What do y'all think about Malik Willis potentially going to Seattle on a trade like that? And obviously, I don't think the Seahawks would take Malik Willis straight up for DK Metcalf. But what would you be willing to give up along with Malik Willis to get DK Metcalf? That's the question.
I don't
maybe like Ron's saying here.
Yeah. I will not reward the Seattle Seahawks anything for that Hail Mary. They will forever be held in contempt for me. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. That's what I say to Seattle. All
Heard
right?
it from a fan right here.
You're not getting Malik. You're not getting anybody. I don't want DK anymore. I forgot about how much I loathe the Seahawks. I don't want to do it.
Let's do this since we're talking DK, and I want to get your all's take on this because this. I don't want to sway your opinion. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. We're going to play this audio. And this came from Gojo and Golick on Twitter. They had Diana Rossini, who's been kind of covering the DK talk for the most part. They had her and was asked about DK Metcalf. Okay. And I want you guys to hear what she had to say. And then I want to get your all's take on whether or not you would want DK or if this sways your opinion in any way at all. Let's just throw up this embarrassing pick. Oh, Tim already beat me to it. All right. I was going to put an embarrassing pick of Caleb Williams up there because this kind of reminds me of that. But anyway, here we go. Here's Diana Rossini on Gojo and Golick asked about DK Metcalf.
I saw you reporting all morning to the DK Metcalf side of things about now the asking price for DK Metcalf. You reported that they're looking for a 1st and a 3rd in return for the star receiver who's also going to command a new contract. What does the market look like for that, Diana, for DK Metcalf right now?
There's a lot of teams interested, but after I put that out, I started to get texts from those teams like, yeah, right. Way too much. Look, good for John Schneider and the Seahawks for asking for a lot right now. We all know that can change. That's just the starting asking price at this moment as they're trying to gauge, okay, what's the real interest here? How can we make this work? And then, there's always a scenario where they keep the player. That could always happen as well. My sense from the DK side to it.
All right, here we go. Here's DK's side. You ready? Listen to what she says here.
He obviously wants to get paid. He wants to play somewhere where it's warm. It was something I was told. Warm weather. He wants a more stable quarterback situation. So these are things that I think will play into some of the decisions here when we see if the Seahawks are able to really get what they want here for a player like DK, who, you look at those numbers, that's an AJ Brown trade number, like we were just talking about. So I don't think they land on that. I just think that for right now, that's the asking price. And so we'll see if they lower that a little bit to move their top receiver.
All right. So I want to get your all's take before I give you mine. Because again, I don't want to sway anybody's opinion here. Let me get that off the screen so you don't see my opinion. What do y'all think about what they just said? He said he wants to be he wants a new contract, which they're going to be asking $30 million per. Whether they get it or not, we can debate that. He wants to play in warmer weather, and he wants a stable quarterback. What's your all's take? I don't care who goes first.
I don't think that jives with what Green Bay is. That I don't feel the fit at all, to be honest. I don't want it. I don't need it. Just that's my opinion.
Tim?
Yeah, makes me kind of like DK a little less. The whole I only want to play football in a perfect environment, and that whole scenario. I'm kind of over it. And yeah, obviously that wouldn't be Green Bay. It would lead you to believe that we'd have another situation if they pulled something off and got him here. You're going to have a guy that doesn't want to play here. So kind of turns me off a little bit. I mean, there's nothing wrong being a veteran receiver, and if you're going to be traded, wanting to go to a team with a stable quarterback and wanting to go to quote unquote contender, but not wanting to play in cold weather is just it's kind of lame to me.
No, I agree. And my opinion here in my tweet, I said I kept waiting for her to say DK wants to win. So he doesn't want to play in cold weather. He wants to be paid top receiver money, and he wants to play with a stable quarterback. Yeah. So the fact that it wasn't, he wants to go chase a ring. He wants to go win a championship. It was, I'd like it to be a little warmer. Sorry, boys. Sorry.
You know what?
If there were 1,400 yards on the docket and 13 tutters, sure, you put up with a little bit of that. We're talking about a guy who had over 100 targets and 900 yards receiving with like 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. My dad used to have a saying. He said, I'll clean it up. He said, you can poop in one hand and wish in the other. See which one fills up first. So
I think we had a quote similar to that this year, I believe, if I remember correctly. As a matter of fact, do we still have it here, Tim? Where's it at? Here we go.
I want to pat you on the butt and you poop my hand. So
similar to
about that.
All right. So let's see here. We got breaking news, man. It ain't good news, but we got breaking news here from Fred McFarland.
It is.
Oh,
nice.
Said Xavier Worthy arrested last night. Ouch. So he was obviously the fastest receiver at the combine last year. Am I thinking right, boys? And obviously the Chiefs drafted him, and I feel like he had a pretty good year.
Couldn't outrun those cops, though.
I see what you did there, Jacob. I see what you did there. Do we know what he was arrested for, Tim? This is your
I do.
What you're good at right here, man. You love talking about this stuff.
Assault. It looks like assault in a domestic kind of thing here. It says
unbelievable.
And then refusal to do a breathalyzer.
Circulation, yeah. So would not do a breathalyzer. I think the important thing, if we're going to talk about this, is to realize that he was arrested and is being charged apparently, but it doesn't mean he's convicted of anything yet. So
true.
We should be real careful with how we talk about it. So yeah, an arrest doesn't automatically mean you're guilty. So I'm not saying that either way.
Allegedly.
I will say this.
Allegedly he assaulted someone. So we'll see how this pans out, but it's not a good look for sure.
I agree with what Tim's saying there. With my family history, the cops were right most of the time when our family got arrested. But you're right, though, man. We do need to mention that because you never know the whole story. But, yeah, that's wild. Thank you for updating us there, Fred. And listen, the Chiefs are no stranger to this, right? Like, remember Tariq Hill constantly getting in stuff? There was another guy, too.
Rashee Rice. Like, it's obvious that when other teams drop guys down on their board for personal things like that, the Chiefs are like, hey, bring them over here, Yep. So,
like Drew,
there you go.
Your NFL willing to suspend guys who don't get convicted too. That's true. I mean, even an arrest for an assault is like a conduct policy kind of thing, and the league can do what they want to do regardless of what the court system does. So, could affect this season for sure.
When they get enough information that's proven true to go, that's still too close to our policy of conduct detrimental to the league or whatever you want to call it, right? So, yeah, sure. All right. Again, Fred, thank you for that update there, man. So DK, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Everybody seems to be kind of souring on it a bit. You know what I mean? Not that I know people on this show were never like, go get DK. Sell the farm for the right price. I think he's a good football player. I don't think he's, I don't think he's worthy of $30 million a year, though. That's just me. So, we'll see, though, man. We might get news today that the Packers traded for him. And I promise you this: if the Packers do trade for him, the decision's made. I'll be the biggest DK fan on the planet. I'm rooting the dude on. He's in a Green Bay Packers uniform. I will not. I can't stand those fans that they disagree with something for all year long. They're looking for a reason to complain about it. That's like the whole Cooper DeJean thing. Oh my God, it is so exhausting. So exhausting. And then when you mention, okay, cool, man. So you'd rather have Cooper DeJean over Edgerrin Cooper? Well, no, I want them both. That don't work that way, Hoss Cat. Sorry, it don't work that way. You just want to complain. Go complain. Joseph in the chat said DK is fool's gold. Again, I think he's a good football player, Joseph. I don't want to come across the wrong way. It's just there's a difference between good and Hall of Fame. And when you're paying somebody $30 million per, you're pretty much saying this dude tilts the field completely in your favor. If he didn't tilt the field in his favor in Seattle, and that's the only thing I've been saying with DK is he had over 100 targets and didn't produce 1,000 yards. If he comes to Green Bay and he doesn't get those 100 targets, what makes you think he's going to have better production on less targets? And if your plan is, well, I want him to get 120 targets or 150 targets, okay. When they start tilting the field to his side and you take that away, I mean, Tim, you remember, you were young, I'm sure, but you remember the Sterling Sharp days. Sterling Sharp is a dog.
Yep.
But people, I know to this day, I hear people talk about when Sterling Sharp left Green Bay, it forced Brett to take what the defense was giving him, and the team went to the next level. That can be a hindrance too, to just lean on one guy. Because early on, it sounded like Brett was doing it. It was like, where the hell's 84 at? Let me just get the ball to him, right? So doesn't it?
His receiving is tough.
Doesn't necessarily equate to winning ball games, So
Did you guys, by chance, last night? I didn't get to listen to the whole episode. Look at any of the free agents that got released and see if any of them were. What popped up to me was Shaq Mason at right guard or left guard. I can't remember. Harold Landry was one of that I was kind of excited about. But the biggest one that I've heard people talk. Have you ever heard of Malcolm Kuntz?
Malcolm Kuntz. I heard his name yesterday. Tell us what you know about him. I'll see if I can pull up some info.
So Malcolm Kuntz is an edge defender that was drafted in 2021 by the Raiders. He had an okay start. Nothing special in this first year. Took a big dip in the second year. I believe he had some injury stuff or just couldn't get on the field. But in 2023, he had 501 snaps, graded out as an 81.3 with a 78.9 pass rush grade, and a decent coverage grade. And he got injured and basically missed the whole season last year. And now he's at the point where the Raiders have to figure out if they're going to sign him. He's only 26, I believe, 6'2", 250. Showed a lot of. He originally was a third-round draft pick, picked 80th overall, and he would probably be very cheap. And you guys know I'm about that cheap life.
What was his position again, Jacob?
Edge defender.
Edge defender. I think we talked about it last night. We talked so much I can't remember, but I want to say we came across him. Here we go, right here. Yeah, so his projected value, according to this projected contract, $18.7 million per year.
18 for 2 years.
Yeah, with $20 million guarantee, which essentially is if it's on a 2-year deal, that's a 1-year, $20 million deal is what you're talking about. And then
they were comparing him to Zadarius Smith, about a guy that didn't have a lot of production, but has all the intangibles and all of the freakiness athletically, but he just hasn't gotten that shot yet. Didn't know if that was somebody that people would be worth. For that money though, that's too much for me.
Right? Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like if you could get him for $7 or $8 million a year, might be the move, right?
Being compared to Zadarius doesn't help him.
Not in Green Bay anyway, right?
What do you guys think about Shaq Mason though? Talk about a guy. So 2016. There's grades going from 2016 84.6, 2017 81.6, 2018 86.9, 2019 75.1, 2020 85.4, 2021 86.4. Now here's the deal: is the last 3 years 68.2, 65.6, and last year 60.5. But he just got released by Houston. Played predominantly at right guard. Just saying.
Yeah, they don't have him on the rankings yet. What was this? It was Shaq Mason. I thought his PFF grades were really bad the last few years. What were
last
they?
3 years.
Last 3 years, okay. And how old is he, Jacob?
He is. He was born in 93. So his draft year was 2015. So he's got to be pushing 30.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know, man. To me, the Shaq Mason thing is like the most recent years worries me. Right. And he is 31 years old. Okay. So he's 31 and you've had a decline the last 4 years, right? 86.4. Then he went to a 68.2, then he went to a 65.6, and he went to a 60.5.
Mhm.
Could he jump back in the 80s? It's possible, but if he continues to grade out in the 60s, right, and he kind of plays at that level, I would really be kicking myself tying up a spot because you would have to take like Jordan Morgan off the field, right? You'd have to take like Sean Ryan off the field, and I don't know what the money would be. Did they have any kind of market value for him at all that you know
I
of?
didn't see it.
Okay.
I mean, and make the move, Elton over to center would be a little easier.
That's what I was thinking. Is if you had the
interior
ability to
depth
kind
other
of
than Ryan. So
that's a good point. That's a very good point. It's not showing any market value for him. His cap hit. You said they did cut him. Is that right, Jacob?
I believe they released him.
His cap hit was on track to be $14.5 million this year and $15 million next year. So, maybe if you can get him for less than $5 million, cool. But it looks like he'll probably, based off of what he's gotten in the past, he may be somewhere in that $8 to $12 million range, just depending. Obviously, if there's a team that likes him more than others. So, yeah, I don't know, man. For me, on the surface, it would be no. But you guys know how I feel. It's like for the right price, I'm okay with anybody. For sure. Back to the Harold Landry thing there, just did a quick little deep dive yesterday into, whether he might be worth it. Obviously, he's an edge defender. He played outside linebacker, and I believe at 34. His PFF grades the last 4 years, starting in 2020 and coming forward to last year, 64, 63, 64, and 70. So not horrible, but what kind of value is he going to warrant on the market? That's the question, And I want to say, I don't think we've got a market value there, but I think we had looked it up yesterday, and it was quite a bit higher than I wanted to give up. Matter of fact, I don't even see him on here right now. I would imagine he's probably going to get in the $7 to $10 million range, something like that. And I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, this is close enough to LVN type performance that hey, I would rather LVN get those reps, and I darn sure rather have Khalil Mack. Obviously, going to cost a lot more, but Drew D pointing out here too. Harold Landry is only 250 pounds, so I don't think he's a fit. He's more of kind of that hybrid type 34 outside linebacker. That's a great point there, Drew, for sure.
That would be like Preston Smith scenario all over again, right?
Yeah.
Not really comfortable in that. I can play in a 4-3, but
and Preston is significantly bigger than Landry. But you're right, from a schematic standpoint, it does kind of feel similar, right? He like that outside linebacker 34.
Yep.
Another one here, as we're kind of coming down to the wire here on what are the Packers going to do with Quay Walker. There are other teams that are really paying out top dollar for inside linebackers. The Bucs are bringing one of their franchise icons back as they've agreed to terms with star linebacker Levante David back for more at age 35. He gets a 1 year, $10 million deal with $9 million guaranteed. So it's basically
Bobby Wagner 2.0 over here.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like for sure. And then on top of that, the Bills made a splash here at linebacker as well. Let me get this up here. Ian Rappaport tweeted out. It says, another Bills star locked in. The Bills have agreed to terms with standout linebacker Terrell Bernard on a 4-year, $50 million contract extension. And the reason I mentioned it, it says Bernard gets 25.2 guaranteed in a deal done by Ron Slavin. So obviously, roughly half of that deal, 50% of it is guaranteed. If you're going
off a pretty good year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bernard had a good year last year.
And if you're going to extend Quay Walker, put yourself in Quay's shoes for a minute, okay? And put yourself in, so we're not mad at Quay. Put yourself in his agent's shoes. He's looking at these numbers going, Levante David, 35 years old, he got $10 million, right, for a year per year, basically, for a 1-year deal. This guy, obviously, Terrell Bernard on a 4-year, $50 million contract. He's getting over $10 million per year with $25 million guaranteed. Okay, and I know people are immediately going to go, Quay is not play at that level. I 100% understand and agree, but the market is the market. So Quay's going to go, his agents are going to go to the Packers and go, here's what these linebackers are getting. So what would the number be for Quay? That's the reason I bring it up. How do you guys feel about Quay? What would it be for Quay? Are you going to crack the 10 million mark, as Chris N says here? Goot will give Quay 10 plus million, LOL. It kind of feels like they will. And, the closer that we get here, now, obviously, immediately following the draft, we'll see if they hit him with the 5th-year option. I think there's little to no chance that Quay gets that 5th-year option with it being over $20 million. That would make no financial sense. The Devontae Wyatt one's the one that I would feel like would make the most sense. I hope neither of them happen, but I don't know, man. It just, if you're willing to 5th-year option Darnell Savage, I kind of feel like they're probably going to slap it on Devontae Wyatt, even though they may just use it as a bridge, right, to kind of bridge the next contract. And with it being the fully guaranteed, that's where you can kind of move that money around and kick it on down the road as well. As Chris N says here, donuts. Chris, right now, if I had to put a percentage on it, just the way I'm feeling about this offseason, where we're at, I would say you're probably 70% likely to win that bet. And I think that that's a good thing for Packer fans. Chris said it's a good thing for me. I'll tell you this. If you guys don't know, if you're hearing my voice, you don't know what we're talking about. We bet a couple dozen donuts. I said that I thought Goody would franchise tag at least 5th-year option one of those two players, Quay Walker or Devontae Wyatt. With Quay's, it's a little more, a little more complicated because there's edge defenders that are grouped in as linebackers in a 34 defense, and their number is astronomical as opposed to just traditional inside stack backers. But yeah, I'm hoping they don't 5th-year option them though, because I really think you could spend that money in a better spot. Man, I like Devontae Wyatt. I just don't see him as a top 10 interior defensive lineman. And I feel like when you hit a 5th-year option on a guy, that's kind of what you're saying. We expect him to be one of the best. Great pass rusher, not so strong against the run. What's y'all's take on it, though? Everything we just covered there. We covered a lot of the bases there.
I mean,
talking about Quay just gets me excited, looking forward to, him and Coop on the field for the bulk of snaps. It's going to be great to see that. Kind of waited for that last year. We didn't get to see that very much. But I'm with you. I think Goody probably gets a deal done with Quay, and I don't know, 3 or 4 year deal, something like that. Some guaranteed money. Try to make everyone happy, I guess. I'm with you. I think if anyone's going to get that option, it's probably going to be Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah.
I think the Packers may be more open to drafting / signing more linebackers than maybe we think, because I mean, when they re-signed McDuffie, it made you think, okay, we not exactly sure what our floor is. Holmes just said a good thing too. We can't forget about Hopper, but I just, for some reason, I feel like they may not trust the room that they have right now. And Prince brings up a good point that if Jihad Campbell falls to 23, would that be what we need? I'd be totally pumped about that. I got also maybe in the 3rd or 4th round guys like Danny Stutzman or Teddy Buchanan or even a Jalen Walker later in the rounds. He's more of a tweener guy, but I would like us to take maybe at least 1 or 2 stabs at the linebacker room just to try to build that depth. What happens if we strike gold on another Edgerrin Cooper and we've got, if you had Quay, Coop, and then plug in any other guy. If Hopper takes a step, that's great. But if you had 3 studs at linebacker, I don't even remember the last time we had 1 stud at linebacker, a real stud. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, and we're picking at 23, Tim. Jihad Campbell is 22 on our board. Now, we did not have Quay on our radar other than the rumors of he's skyrocketing up boards that year of the draft. With Jihad Campbell, and Quay was a physical freak, athletic freak, right? Jihad Campbell, he scored a 9+ RAS. He got the maximum bonus for us, but he definitely has better tape than Quay did, if that makes sense. If Jihad Campbell's sitting there at 23, and again, you don't have to make the decision on Quay. You just got to make the 5th-year option decision on Quay by whatever it is, the first week of May, last week of April, whatever it is. If you decide, okay, we're going to let him play out this contract or at least get into next year, and if it really clicks with Quay, year 2 of Jeff Hafley's defense, then you extend him, awesome. But if you go get Jihad Campbell with the 22nd pick, and this dude comes out and he plays like Edgerrin Cooper did, right off the bat, then you don't have to extend Quay. You're set. You got your 2 backers, and they're both on rookie contracts. That's a wild thing to think about there. But again, man, Quay comes out, man, and it clicks this year because it started to click a little bit last year. It was only like 2 or 3 games. I don't want to misspeak here, but it was just like 2 or 3 games where it was like, oh, look at Quay here, because our fans they've been as critical of Quay as any fan base. You know, when I say our fans, I mean us, our fan base, us, me, Jacob, Tim, everybody that's watching the show, us as fans collectively have been pretty critical of Quay at times. But, you know, you got to take into consideration 2 or 3 games, he looked good. Other than that, it's been rough at times. You know what I'm saying? And unless you're going to use him as that vertical seam cover guy, right? If that's predominantly what he does, I think, heck yeah, we'll bring him back. But it's obvious that they're wanting to mix and match what he does. You know, does that make sense?
Yep.
Mhm.
Totally.
So Jahad Campbell at 23, I would be okay with. The board would suggest that's all right. Now you go back to why did we lose to the Eagles? Why did we lose to the teams that we lost to? A lot of it had to do with the trenches, you know, interior on offense. We don't have a center, right? So we got to shore that up. If you go and add another piece on defense, which there's definitely precedent there from Goody, you know, how does that help us get over the hump beating the Eagles? That's really what it comes down to right now. The Eagles is the team we got to get by in the NFC. And every decision you make, good GMs in the past, good owners in the past, that's how they approach things. It was, all right, this is the team in the division we've got to beat. How do we do that? Right? You know, like the AFC West, it's constantly, how do we get past Pat Mahomes? Well, teams figured out how to slow down Pat Mahomes in that offense last year. Lo and behold, Spags has got that defense humming. You know, so it's a constantly changing thing for sure. So, let's see here. Ron Sample, I think having Cooper full time next to Quay full time will help unlock Quay. That's a good point too. You know, Cooper playing next to Quay as opposed to Devondre Campbell, big difference. Maybe that puts a little more confidence in Quay that he could just turn it loose, shoot a shot rather than, you know, constantly kind of trying not to get beat, you know, big. Chris,
he plays kind of tentatively, right? We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Quay looks like a guy just trying not to make a mistake out there.
Yeah.
And when you play like that, you end up making mistakes. And so I think him being fast and free and loose and, you know, playing with some confidence would definitely help in the long run.
Isn't that crazy too? Like we saw the two opposite ends of the spectrum, like you talked about with Quay, the hesitation, gets caught up in the wash, gets completely either overrun or underrun on the play, gets ragdolled, or as Coop just one step and he goes. Like you saw it in his college film too. It was one step, re-diagnose, shoot the human meat missile, and he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the luxury of Quay calling the defense, though. You know, Quay's got the dot, so I can see maybe where Quay gets those tendencies, right? His job, he's got to call that play, and he's got to know where everyone's supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be, and then by the time that ball snapped, oh, yeah, by the way, I have to play linebacker as well. And maybe that's what's kind of putting Quay in that, you know, having that step of hesitation, you know.
Which goes back to our original conversation when they drafted him. Like, you drafted an athletic freak. You didn't draft someone who just played 4 years as a mock backer in a college program. You know, they let Dre, if I remember correctly, Dre wore the green dot the first year, and Quay looked pretty decent as a rookie, right? Like, okay, this guy, you know, he can attack the football. Then the next year you flip it, put the green dot on him, and he takes a step back. I think you're trying to ask too much from a guy that wasn't a traditional just mock backer. You know, he's built for it. There's no doubt about it. He's got the height and the athleticism. But Chris N says Quay's not worth $10 million in my opinion. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Coach Lynn, I keep coming back to what McKinney had to say about Quay. He was bragging on Quay, remember?
Yep.
So
very true.
You know, pumping up your teammate, or is Xavier going, boy, we get this dude back healthy, our defense is really going to be humming? Could be the case. I like to take people for what, you know, for the, you know, what they say and just assume they're telling the truth. So, Prince in the chat, Hopper showed some meat missile tendencies in the preseason.
Here's a guy.
And keep in mind, is he a 3rd round pick, guys?
I believe so.
That's not like, you know, that's not a 5th round pick. You know what I mean? That's not a 7th round pick. That's hey, this dude, we expect him to be on the field sooner rather than later. So maybe he can get that together.
Was Hopper at Missouri? Am I thinking correctly?
Mm-hmm. Pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And he was one of one of only 6 players that we had as the perfect fit for the Packers. He and Oladapo were 2 of those 6, and the Packers obviously took them out of, what was it, 200 out of maybe 250 prospects. So a couple other things real quick. We'll go rapid fire and get out of here. Jordan Schultz tweeted this out. You guys know this is one of the free agents that I said I'd be interested in him. Byron Murphy out of Minnesota, cornerback, is poised to hit the open market on Monday when the legal tampering period begins, and he's anticipated to have a strong market. 27-year-old coming off a Pro Bowl season and has totaled 9 interceptions over the last 2 years for the Vikings. Again, I'm not saying you overpay for him, but he was one of the few corners that I'd be okay with having him on the Packers for the right price. But I want to say his market value will probably get a little out of hand. What do you guys think about Byron Murphy? What's the number you would put on him? If you don't want him, just say no, don't want him. But if you would like to have him, what do you think is the max you'd pay for someone like Byron Murphy?
I'll just real quick. 2019, his grades from then: 48.3, 64.7, 58.5, 66.7, 58 flat, and this last year 73.4. I don't.
One of these don't belong, right?
He's 27 years old. He's going to be demanding, it sounds like, quite a bit of money. I'm kind of off on that.
Okay.
Paulson Adebo.
Huh? You like Paulson Adebo? Is that what you said?
I like that for the money.
You're not the only one to say that. And every time I've dove into it, I was like, I must be in the minority there for sure. Tim, what do you think about Byron Murphy, man? Would you be interested? I'm trying to see where he ranks.
I'm not opposed to him. I can look past my seething hatred for anybody in purple. But that being said, though, someone's going to overpay for him, and it shouldn't be the Packers. That's just what I think. 27 years old, you got to be thinking, put yourself in a 27-year-old, DB's shoes here. He's going to try and get paid here, the best he can. And I'm with Jacob. I'm not, it's less attractive to me. If he would do a team-friendly deal, let's say Jaws moved and, we're looking to add at that position, now maybe I'm interested. But right now, face value, no. I think someone's going to overpay for him.
Here's what's crazy. Jair Alexander last year, passer rating when targeted, 77.6. Byron Murphy, 75.6. He had a better passer rating when targeted than Jair Alexander. Carrington Ballantyne sitting at the 69 spot, man. That's really impressive. Kendall Fuller, we talked about him. His passer rating when targeted, 89.8, worse than both. Keyshawn Nixon's passer rating when targeted, 101.2 because of the tutters.
Jeez.
So if you were to go get Byron Murphy right now, he would definitely be your number 1 corner. But if you do that and you play the better player as of 2024, which was Carrington Ballantyne, now Keyshawn Nixon goes to the bench or has to compete for the slot spot again. The number I would put on Byron Murphy that I would be okay with, about $10 million. I'd go for it for $10 million. 3-year deal, get out of it after 2, stabilize the corner room. This is if Ja isn't coming back, of course, right? On paper, it would look like an improvement other than PFF grades. And that's why, like, as you read the PFF grades, Jacob, I'm going, man, that doesn't sound like somebody I was interested in. And then I go look at the passer rating target. Oh, that's what it was. So who do you want to trust there, right? I like to take them both into account. That's why if they were both solid numbers, yeah, let's pay top corner money for him. Let's go get him. The fact that one's solid and the other ain't. And when I say solid, it's not like he was one of the better, corners. It wasn't like he was dominant. I mean, that passer rating when targeted was 41st best in the league, which is a solid. Great. It's a starting cornerback number, but not a number 1 corner. And that's why the $10 million obviously is not number 1 corner money. That's just like wide receiver cornerback money is just crazy, man. Crazy, outrageous. So, all right, there's Byron Murphy. I think we're good. I think we're pretty well caught up. We got some other.
Good point from Ron Sandville. Murphy benefited from all the Vikings pressure. He's average.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah. They did get after the quarterback, didn't they?
Yep.
Okay.
Make it a little easier to play downhill as a DB, right? When you've got a quarterback running for his life all the time.
Yeah. Two Tone says, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Hafley the DB whisperer? Get him anybody in that room. Yeah, that's the thing that's so frustrating about Ja is like I expected him to be like take the next step under Hafley. And it wasn't like Ja was bucking it, like he was embracing it. He was at all the offseason stuff. Him and Xavier McKinney were lockstep. And to take a step back, and then of course the injury and all that stuff. It's just frustrating. It feels like if anybody was going to truly unlock it and get that superstar potential back out of Ja, it would have been Haf. It feels like he's doing that with Carrington. I'm telling you, man, guys, go back and watch Carrington's tape this year. Especially down the stretch when Ja, obviously as Ja got hurt and Carrington got more and more reps, that dude played solid. I think we got a good corner. I think we got a solid number 2 corner there. So now let's go find that number 1 corner of the future, if indeed that's not going to be Ja. But I wouldn't rule out Jair coming back either, man.
I can't get the idea out of my head that Jair plays on emotion, plays with ego, almost to the point where it overpowers what he does. Like his I think it controls him. I really do. And I think that when Xavier got brought here and when guys like Carrington and Nixon and started getting a little more attention and Ja kind of faded into the background, I can't get out of my head that I feel like that really messed with him personally. And he's used to being the big guy, being the rooster, the big cock of the walk kind of guy. I just feel like that he maybe right now is just having that little man syndrome where he thinks like, why aren't they talking about me? Why am I not? Like Xavier's more the team rah-rah guy, like whatever we got to do to win. We saw that mentality with Jacobs. We see that with a lot of like Rashawn Gary. It feels like Ja is more focused on himself. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I can understand how you feel like that. I also understand the whole, trying to see it from Ja's perspective too, and being frustrated that, you're missing all that time and not being healthy and not being able to play the way you want to play. You know, that's the other thing.
Things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
Siggy in the chat says, how much cap space do we have? So I'll try to break it down for you, because when people hear cap space, they think this is the number, right? It's like, top 51 cap space says 43.2 million, right? You go through, you get all your dead money off the books, your draft pool, as it sits right now with the 23rd pick, 54, 87, 123, 160, 200, 239, and 251 is going to equate to a cap hit of 9.9 million, with the top 51 aspect being 4 million flat. And what I mean by that is only the top 51 highest cap hits on your roster count toward the cap. So even though you got a 53-man roster, only 51, the top 51 count towards the cap. So you're looking at a cap hit there within the top 51 of 4 million flats, what it's showing, or a total of 9.9. Now, when you go on down and you take everything into consideration, 279 million is the salary cap. The rollover cap that you rolled in from 2024 was 15.1 million. That was not most in the league, by the way. The adjusted salary cap is now 294.3 million. The active roster, you got 244 million tying it up. You got 18.3 million in dead money. That's dead cap hits where you moved on from players, right? So cap allocations 262.8, which brings you to cap space, everything 31.4. But when you throw in the top 51 cap space, it's 251 million, with the cap space being a top 51 of 43.2. So all that being said, the best way to look at it, you got to have about $5 to $7 million operating money as well. Right now, a good safe number for me is we're sitting at right at about 30 million. That's playing it very, very safe. Now, you got potentially, you got a lot that you could potentially restructure. So it doesn't mean you don't have extra money to spend in free agency if you want to go ham in free agency. That's where you can restructure the contracts of like Rashawn Gary, Jair Alexander, Jordan Love, Elton Jenkins, Xavier McKinney, Kenny Clark, and Josh Jacobs. That's not saying asking them for a pay cut. That's simply converting, base salary and roster bonus to signing bonus and being able to spread that out creatively to free up more cap. So
is that what you're just touching on here? Ron says Packers have restructures available of 74 million, according to Ken.
Yeah. See the numbers I came up with, and whoever Ken is, I'm sure he does things differently. That's cool. I like to undershoot. I don't like to go max. That sounds like that would be maximum restructure. Everybody that you could restructure, you can pull that much out. I like to keep it about 10 million shy of that. So the number I've got is somewhere between 64 million and 32 million. So if you want to get crazy aggressive, you could reach 60, 64 million. If you wanted to kind of play it a little more conservative, you got 30, 32 million, somewhere around there. Now, with that being said, this isn't quite the free agency class that you want to get aggressive with, in my opinion. I don't think it's like crazy stacked. But when you throw in all of the trade opportunities, that's where it gets interesting. Your Trey Hendricksons, your Myles Garretts, your, of course, DK Metcalf being talked about. But think about this. With DK Metcalf, if you were to go trade for him and you do agree to a $30 million per on average annual value, that first year is going to be significantly lower, but the bill's going to come due at some point, right? You got to ask yourself, theoretically speaking, because across the board, that's your average annual value for DK, and it's not going to go down as you go through, right? You're going to pay the piper at some point, depending on the guaranteed money. We got $32 million in cap space, right? Let's just call it $30 million. Are you willing to wipe all of that out completely for DK Metcalf? That's the issue I got. Again, it wouldn't apply this year, but at some point, you're still, coming up to. So.
You know, what would be an interesting topic is I was listening to either DJ or one of the other podcasts, and they talked about how a big if, that if the Bengals were to go and try to get Hendrickson back, they paid, or they franchised our guy that we're looking after there, and if they paid Chase, that they would be one of the only teams in NFL history, if not the only team, with their top 4 paid players would be over 50% of the team's allocated cap space. It'd be cool to see which other teams are even in that running. Like if we took everybody's top 3 or top 4 paid players and see where the Packers rank among that, I think that'd be an interesting exercise to see. I don't know if that's something maybe the chat can help us out with going forward into a different episode, but to me, paying 4 players over 50% of your team's net worth or your team's cap space is a little insane, but I guess it depends on who those 4 players are. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting dynamic. And then also, if you're a member of that team, 53 guys, 49 of them are all looking around at each other like, God, I wish I could be in that top 4 range. Like, does that breed some sort of ill content? I mean, you can't tell me that guys on the Browns aren't looking around and looking at each other like, Deshaun Watson is really making this much money. We're sitting here scraping to get our paychecks, and they're still paying Deshaun Watson like unbelievable money.
Yeah, and number one Packer fan, I saw 49 million in cap space. Is that not right? Sorry, I just dropped in. You're good, man. The rule of thumb here, guys, like this is where a lot of people screw up and they buy into the doom and gloom and this and that. It's like we could have anywhere from 32 million if you want to roll a bunch in to next year or whatever. You know what I mean? And like be able to maximize your opportunity of cutting cap next year or being more aggressive next year. Or you can go into the 64 million range. Don't get too caught up in, do we have 35 million or 45 million? You know what I mean? I'm telling you, there's so much flexibility with the cap. It's time sensitive. I'm not one of these, the cap is fake guys. It's very time sensitive. It's real in that aspect. But you can damn near make just about anything work in the cap.
I was going to say, it's fungible.
Yeah. Whatever that means. I'm too stupid to realize what that means. But let's see here. So we hit that. You asked the percentage, right, Jacob? Here
Yes,
we go.
Sir.
Wish we could get this on the. I don't know what's going on with the screen today. It's like it keeps changing. There, that's a little bit better. Okay, so in terms of cap hit percentage, Jordan Love this year is 10.6%. Okay, Rashawn Gary is 9.2%. Jair Alexander is 8.9%. Kenny Clark is 7.9%. You said top 4 is what you wanted to know?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so our top 4 comes to 19, 27, $34 million. And you said theirs was 50 million or no, 50%.
It was
cap,
over
right?
50% of the cap, right?
Yeah. So yeah, our percentage, I apologize, is 27, about 30 some percent of the cap.
Yeah.
So significantly lower. Like if we were to go to the Bengals, since you mentioned that, right? Let's go ahead and just hit it real quick and we'll see what it is this year. So Joe Burrow is 16%, T Higgins is 9%, Jamar Chase is 7%. And Trey Hendrickson is 6%. So their number is, what would that be? 25, 38 million or 38%.
That's before paying any of these guys really what they're owed so far. So
Yep.
do you think when you go back to the Packers, and again, obviously I'm a Packer fan, you guys know that. I look at that top four and I think that there's an argument to say that not a single one of them deserves the money that they're being paid. And I hate saying that because I'm a diehard Packer fan. The Jordan Love thing, I think, has a big question mark, an asterisk there. You had to pay him that money, or otherwise, it's just what the market was going for. Rashawn Gary, you could argue, since he's got the money, has fallen off a cliff. Jair, same thing. Kenny Clark, same thing times two. That to me makes me upset. You look at the next four guys that are getting paid: Elton Jenkins, Josh Jacobs. It's just, to me, it feels like we're putting assets and money into the wrong players. And
now, let me ask you this, Jacob. Let me ask you this. If Xavier McKinney, Elton Jenkins, Josh Jacobs, and Keyshawn Nixon were in the top four, wouldn't you be saying the same thing about at least two of those guys? You'd be going, Keyshawn ain't worth that.
Well, 100%. But that, I mean,
right? Elton ain't worth that. Let's be honest. Elton wouldn't be worth $25.7 million.
But that's my point. He's not getting paid that. So
right. But somebody's going to get paid it, whether we think these players should or not. That's how it works. That's the market. So here's what I'm trying to say. Jordan Love, for instance, $29.6 million, right? You had an option to not re-sign him. Are you saying that's what we should have done?
No. And I said specifically with Love that was one that we had to do it. We had to do it.
So Rashawn Gary
was the best guy around.
Rashawn Gary, if you didn't re-sign him and you let him walk, right, you would be missing your sack leader and your run stop leader and your highest graded defender on defense other than Xavier McKinney, if I remember correctly. Right? So are you saying we should have let him walk? You see what I'm saying?
That argument, though, is implying that just because he's the best on our team means he's worth the money. To me, that's, again, being the tallest short person in the room. It's like, okay. I'm just making an argument for that side. I don't necessarily believe it. I'm just saying that if I wasn't a Packer fan and I'm looking at this list and I compare it with what they've produced, I would be like, that's not enough. That we didn't get enough ROI.
Here's my point is, so we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're taking the most productive guy on our defensive line and going, that's not good enough. Get him out of here. Our team is way worse without him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see it from both sides. And then I know people don't want to hear this, but the answers are on the tape. If you go watch the tape and how we ran that defensive line last year, it was to stop the run. That was the number one goal. And Gary was the absolute best on our defensive line at doing that. So, how many years, Jacob, and this isn't a shot at you. I'm saying fan base in general, me included. We're going, why can't we? How come these other teams figure out this damn run defense and we're always getting ran all over? We finally figure it out, and now we're going, Rashawn Gary's overpaid. You know what I mean? It's like you got to take everything into consideration because he's proven he can pin his ears back and go get the quarterback. His pressure percentage, what was it, like 18% one year or something crazy? But the way we ran our pass rush last year, and the same thing applies to Kenny. Like when you see Kenny's pressure percentage of 6% and you think about his cap hit, this cap hit looks a lot better. Last year it was $27 million. Right? So it was second to only what would have been Jordan Love last year with Kenny. But then you turn on the tape and you go, all right, they've got him playing one tech. It's amazing how many people still don't realize that he's still playing nose. He's playing one tech. He's occupying a double team and he's playing a touch spy. Like, of course, his pressure percentage is not going to be up. And PFF and everyone else is looking at like, well, that's a pass rush when all he's doing is engaging with a double team, walking a half a yard over to the left and keeping his eyes on the backfield. You know what I mean?
I think that maybe is the point I should have made more clear is that for what we're paying these top four, I don't think we're using them to the best of their talents. Therefore, they're not being worth that money. And I think that, again, that's a front office and a coaching mistake because, like you said, they've told Rashawn to do certain things that aren't in his wheelhouse. I don't know about Alexander that much, but same with Kenny Clark, like you just mentioned. You just kind of force a square peg into a round hole and say, you're good at this, so therefore you must be good at this, where I feel like if the front office and if the coaching staff were really good at what they did. They should have evaluated, this is what they're good at. We're paying them top dollar money. Let's let them go out and perform to make that money. Let's not take what they do, try to tweak it, and force them to be a different type of player than they're not, and then try to pay them that money and expect the fan base to be like, oh yeah, it was a good decision.
You see, I mean, and that's I understand what you're saying. That's where we're different, though, is you can take Gary and go, okay, man, you're good at rushing the quarterback. Go rush the quarterback. But we can't complain when the run defense is absolute dog shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And how many years did we see it happen where teams were just running? I go back to, and I hate to do it, but I go back to the Tommy DeVito game. Joe Barry is the worst DC in the history of the NFL. Did you see what he let Tommy DeVito do? And you go turn on the tape, and we're watching the edge defenders rush 9 yards up the field past him. He just steps up and goes, let's just run the ball, right? They were screaming, play more man coverage, while complaining that a quarterback was running 40 yards down the field while the DB's backs were turned to the quarterback. And our edge defenders were told to just rush upfield. And you could see Matt LaFleur made that tweak. I think everything that Jeff Hafley has done was Matt LaFleur's blueprint of here's how I want the defense to run. That's why we didn't see quarterbacks run all over the Packers last year. That's why we seen them truly control the run game. And I felt like our defense took a step forward. Now, if you're saying anybody can do what Rashawn Gary did last year, I wholeheartedly disagree. Like, there's not edge defenders falling off trees that can do what Gary did in the run game last year. It was pretty remarkable. Again, the run stop percentage was just the problem with Gary, and the reason his numbers are so low, and people look at the sacks and this and that and the tackles for loss, he's not on the field as much as Max Crosby. I'm sorry, he's not going to be. That's a Matt LaFleur thing, you know. That's not
pronounced Max Crosby.
Sorry. So, again, the way I look at building a roster, if you remove the cap numbers, do you want that guy playing that position? Yes or no? Okay. Now the question becomes for how much. And then when it becomes for how much, the market is what the market is. Like, we can let these guys go. We can let Rashawn Gary go. We could have not re-signed Jair Alexander. Now, the injury thing, it probably would have made a lot of sense, but hindsight's 2020 in that regard. I don't know, man. See what Coach Lynn says. Get someone opposite of Gary and watch him take off. See, that's the other thing, and it's the age-old conversation of the chips and this and that, and then you go to this website and they go, no, he wasn't chipped. I'm watching the damn tape, and there's two guys walking him across on an ET stunt, which isn't even designed for him to get to the quarterback on that specific play. I think what Hafley did in the adjustment that Matt LaFleur and Hafley both talked about, even Goody talked about in the presser, was they had to make adjustments as the year went on. Hafley had to make adjustments, and I think what he seen was, okay, they're going to take Gary away, and we don't have a pass rusher opposite of him. So, yeah, as Ron Sample says here too, Gary, 9% of the cap is actually good value. Here's what's crazy. We're looking at 2025 when it blimped. Look at last year. We're talking last year's stats compared to this year's cap hit. Look at his cap hit last year. 4% was actually what he was. He led the team in sacks, and he led the team in run stops on the defensive line, run stop percentage, and he was only 4% of the cap. Now, this year, different ballgame. It's going to come down to how they call the defense, too. You know, Kenny Clark was the big one last year. He ate up 10% of the cap, and, you know, we got 6% pressure rate. Rashawn Gary also I think he was second on the team in quarterback pressure percentage behind a guy named Brenton Cox Jr. But
here's the guy.
The only problem with Brenton Cox Jr. is, as we know, he's not as effective. That's a perfect example. If you put Brenton Cox Jr. in there to play the run stunting that Gary was doing, probably not as good at stopping the run. But that's another guy showing some promise too, though. So anyway, that's let's see what it does in 2026, because the numbers are going to continue to go up, and these will be adjusted, obviously. So Jordan climbs to 11.7%. Kenny goes back up to 10%, and Gary drops down to 9.1 at 28. Or was that? Did he actually raise 9.1 there? Yeah, he drops down a touch the way it's structured in 2026. So, yeah. So there you go. Like Trey Hendrickson's a dog. There's no doubt about it. We talked about him. If you bring him in, that cap number is going to get, you got to give him a new contract. Let's go. Can we go league? I would love to see cap hit league wide. Let me try something here real quick. Let's go cap, player rankings, position rankings, blah, blah, blah. Let's go player rankings. If I can get this to pull up. Give me just a second. I want to see where Gary ranks cap hit wise over the last few years. Let's see, it's kind of the big talking point. We'll just go defensive line in general. All right. And we'll keep it at cap hit here. Let's see how bad it was with Gary in terms of that. So we're going cap hit. Max Crosby in 2025, his cap hit's going to be $38.1 million. You know what's crazy, Jacob? We compared his numbers to Gary's last year. Guess who was better? Rashawn Gary was better. Quarterback pressure percentage by like 3%. Run stop rate by a few percent as well. And Max Crosby played like 98% of the snaps. Gary only played however many it was. Chris Jones, 34.8. Christian Wilkins, 38.5. Let's just go down. These are defensive linemen. Let's see where the first Packer comes into play. Kenny Clark is 18th amongst all defensive linemen. That includes defensive tackles and edge. He's 18th in cap hit. Okay. That was, it's 2025, right? Why ain't Gary popping up on here? Gary should be higher on this list. Here we go. We can break it down. Defensive tackle, Kenny Clark is 11th in cap hit, right, this year. Edge defender, or defensive end, I should say. Let's see if he pops up now. Gary is not popping up. I wonder if they got him listed as a linebacker like a bunch of knuckleheads. Do they? Yeah, they still got him listed as a linebacker. So 25.7. That's the thing, too. You should just have edge. Do we have edge? We got edge, right? Here we go. Gary is the 6th highest cap hit in the league at edge defender this year. Last year, with the numbers we were talking about, Gary at edge was 20th. Yeah. So we'll see what he does this year, And the beautiful thing is are we year 3 of this contract now, Tim? I'm trying to remember, man.
Rashawn?
Yeah, since the extension here.
I think going into year 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So next year, let's say Rashawn falls off a cliff this year, right? Let's say he falls off a cliff. His cap hit next year is $28 million. His dead cap's only $17 million. You could free up $11 million by cutting him next year. That makes sense. So this is kind of the final year of we have to keep him, So if he does hit that wall as he approaches 29 years old, or let's say he plays like he did last year and he's still our best edge defender, all right, and you carry him into keep him through 2026. When you get into 2027, his cap hit jumps to $38 million, but the dead cap attached only 8.5, and there's no avoidable years on that either. So to me, that's why I'm on board with what Goody did here. He's structured in a way that when he is 30 years old, you can get out of this like that. Really, at 29 years old, you can get out. So I hope that makes sense. But
Goody being Goody, right?
Yep. Anything else, fellas?
Just maybe for tonight, Fred McFarley brought up a good point. If you haven't already listened to the Mason Crosby's presser, it's definitely worth a listen. Officially retired, I think I saw what he's talking about. I had something in my eye. I wasn't crying. I just had something in both of my eyes. It was weird.
Yeah, I listened to it too, man. It brought back memories. It did. Mason Crosby is a stand-up dude, man, the entire time.
Yep.
Yeah, Ron Samuel, Crosby, all class. It was a blessing to get a chance to meet him. It's a black football that's got gold embroidering on it with a gold G embroidered on it, and actually got him to sign that when I met him in an autograph session. He was just an awesome dude, awesome person for sure, man. Let's see here. What else we got? Fred McFarley agreed. Sounds like NBA cap management. I don't know what he was referring to there. Do you guys remember what he was talking about there?
That was when we were talking about the Bengals top 4 being over 50% of their roster.
Ron Samuel says you can't have a team full of all 5 million.
Why not, Ron?
Jacob said, yes, we can.
Yes, we can. They just won't win any games. Yeah.
The Dollar Tree is a real place, my friend. All right, and then Drew D giving us a little tip here. He said, I had some Paxies from, say it for me, Tim,
Smora's Bakery?
The other day. So good. So there you go. Put that bakery on the list.
we might have to swing through there during the draft. That's going to be in our neck of the woods over there, over by the house.
I'm wearing cargo shorts. I'm gonna have cannolis in my pocket. Is that a cannoli in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me?
It's a cannoli, actually.
It's a cannoli. Yes, it is. Would you like powdered sugar? Have that in the back pocket. All right, boys, this was fun, man. I didn't expect to get into a lot of contract talk, but I love those type of conversations. I try not to steer it in that direction because I know people get bored with it, but it's important to understand how the cap works, at least to a certain level. You ain't got to know everything about it. I don't know everything about it, but I know enough to understand. All right, here's kind of the direction we're going in. And Jacob, I understand the frustration there with the cap hit on Gary. I just always, and the same thing with Jordan. Like, Jordan was not a top 5 quarterback last year. Now, battling 3 injuries all year long, basically, right? But the alternative is, okay, don't re-sign him. Me no likey that, Jan. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, obviously I'm a diehard Packer fan. I'm just more creating a conversation. It'd be boring if we all sat here and just went, I agree. I agree. It's just more, it's a good conversation to have. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but I think those are the ones we need to have.
Yeah. We need to get Doge in there. Tim, what do you think would happen if Elon and the Doge boys walked up to 1265? Think they let them in the door?
I hope not, because there'd be a lot of people getting fired.
All right. That's it, y'all. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We will be back tonight, 7 p.m. Central. Didn't plan on doing a double episode this morning, but this was fun, man. There's a lot of good conversating going on. Ron Sample, fun show, guys. Thanks. Go Pack Go. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Coach Lynn said they'd never let Doge in the house. Never. Look at this. Drew D. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Chris N.
There you go.
5 million times 51 equals 255 million. Technically, they could.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Equals 3 wins.
Yeah. Tommy DeVito on the cover of your weekly program, right? For sure. So, all right. Everybody have a great day. And this glorious Saturday. It's beautiful out here, man. I'm going to go out here and burn some brush and, hang out and just waste time doing things like that with a can of gas out there. Just
sit your butt outside.
There's no show tonight. You know it went wrong, okay? We'll see you on the other side if that's the case. Y'all have a great day. Hit that like button on the way out. Appreciate it.
And we go.
Bye, guys.